Meeting to order. Roll call. Who are we missing? Nobody. That's a miracle. Yeah, that's it, right? All right. Do I have a motion for approval of the agenda? Supervisor Poppy, second by Supervisor Yonke. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Approval of the January 6 minutes. Is there a motion? Augustine, second by Lazansky. Discussion of those minutes. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Public commentary. Anybody wish to comment? No public comment. All right, Ross? No? Okay. You had your chance. Okay, let's move on to request for additional vacation carryover. I'm assuming you have that.
Good evening, I do. Good to see everybody. This one is relatively simple. An employee in the clerk of court's office, would like to carry over 48 hours of vacation. 40 is allowed by policy, so there's one extra day in the balance here. And, the reason being is she wasn't able to use it as much as she would have liked because she was covering for a short staffing during the period of turnover last year. So not a lot more to it than that, but if anybody has particular questions, I can do my best.
I remember that period. Is there a motion?
I'll make.
Motion by
Second.
Supervisor Poppy, second by Romden. Further discussion of the motion. All right, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. County Administrators Report. Voluntary Benefit Update and Employee Assistance Program Update.
So that would be me again. So I just wanted to kind of bring the board along with this. There's no action you need to take with regard to voluntary benefits. They are truly voluntary. There's not a county stake in it, so to speak. But like for right now, employees have access to supplemental insurance policies through Aflac is the carrier. And you're probably familiar with some of those things. You know, you can buy additional accidental death and dismemberment or basically insurance that covers if you're injured at work or need x-rays or imaging or that any of those sorts of things that are above in addition to and completely separate from your major medical plan. Right now, like I said, that's with Aflac. I've been approached by another vendor, a broker, who operates primarily out of the Wausau area, but regularly serves people in this area too. And they have offered, and I've taken them up on at least generating a proposal to see how rates would compare, coverages would compare, and see if it might be perhaps more beneficial to county employees. If we were to proceed with that in any way, people would not lose access to their current plans and coverage. They would just, the only thing that would change is they'd be buying that without the payroll deduction. So they get an invoice at home for an insurance coverage they currently have. No guarantees by any means, no commitment to work with any other vendor. Just wanted the committee to be aware that it's something that I'm exploring because maybe offer benefit to employees.
So how does this work? The extra insurance. I mean, how is the county involved? I mean, this is a policy that they are paying for,
Yes.
but it goes through us.
The only thing that we do is take a payroll deduction and offer the space for the agent to meet with employees. So, yeah, we take a deduction. There's no county tax levy going towards it. There's no commitment of staff time or anything like that.
How does it differ from them just having a policy of that nature on their own without the county involved in it? Is there a tax benefit or something?
Convenience of having it as a payroll deduction and the employer takes care of making sure the bill's paid. That's probably the biggest difference. And I guess I don't know, there might be some group pricing or things that the vendors do differently for one individual going up versus an employer. Okay. That would probably vary by the provider. So I just wanted the committee to be aware of that in case if that discussion does have some legs. I didn't want it to come to nowhere later on. Similar along those lines, employee assistance program. If you recall, this was something that was included in the budget for 2025. Kewaunee County historically has not had an employee assistance program. In broad strokes, an EAP is very simply put, first level, quick response mental health support for employees. So we do cover, behavioral health through the major medical plan. But if you follow in the trends with this, counseling isn't, as timely or available as we all want it to be. So you might, go, some insurers and some providers might have you go to a primary care physician first to get a recommendation or referral, or even if you're, the plan allows a person to directly approach a behavioral health professional, it might be, 6, 8, 10 weeks before you can get in. And mental health is not the sort of thing where you can just put it off several weeks if people are feeling awful the whole time and, having to, continue to deal with symptoms that may even get worse during the time period. So an EAP, is better access to emergency, well, not emergency, but to urgent mental health care needs. It also, is a benefit for people who, may not have a diagnosable disorder, but just have some temporary things they're wrestling with and they need a consultation, need some help to get through that tough time, or some advice on, just life circumstances, things like that. So anyways, that was, included in the budget for this year. It's very affordable. It's under $5,000 for the county for the year to cover all of our employees, in their households. So, very, very cost effective for what it is. And, I just wanted to keep the committee abreast of the progress on that. I have a contract on my desk for that. It's not signed, but reviewing and, likely we'll be able to initiate an EAP for Kewaunee County.
So how is it provided? I mean, what organization is this, an insurance company go through, or
So
how do you get to how does the care, how do you get from our budget to the person that's receiving services?
yeah, great question. So the company I'm working with is called ERC. Leave off the top of my head, that stands for Employee Resource Group or commit. I forget what the last letter is, but at any rate, they are kind of the vendor in EAPs. They're very well known and strong in the market, and they contract with, either directly with their own counselors who work directly with the group. And they may also have, some contracts with medical systems or other qualified counselors. I guess I'm not aware of that, but don't want to rule that out. So they basically, this is their niche in the market, and they manage their network of providers that are associated with them, so that they can keep workloads, manageable so that people are available for the time needs.
So is this a time limited thing then before the regular insurance, whatever we're calling?
Yeah, great question.
The,
Major medical or
yeah,
healthcare insurance?
before our insurance kicks in, is there a length of time? How does that coordinate?
Yep, that's a great question. It's absolutely the case. They cover up to 8 sessions. So if you need longer than 8 sessions, they're gonna help you transition out to a provider that's covered by the insurance. And that's exactly how that works.
Is the $5,000 a retainer and the employee pays above that, or is there insurance covered, or how does the payment process work? I mean,
So if they transition out to insurance, then that's gonna run through the health plan. But this covers the initial up to 8 sessions that anybody.
Okay.
So no employee charge.
So that would be, if the employee would call, that would be all confidential, that
Yep.
you wouldn't even know it,
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
because I know the company that.
So they would get information. Basically, the employee would be told, you have this insurance. Here's the contact information. Here's how you link it.
Yep, the only thing I would change from what you just said was I wouldn't call it insurance, it's just a benefit plan offered by the county, but yeah. Otherwise, yes, the employee would have access to the benefit. Supervisors and colleagues would be made aware, like our whole staff will be made aware when it's ready to go, so that, somebody can say, hey, you remember we have the ERC, the EAP.
But we pay a flat fee for it.
Correct.
So it is essentially insurance. I mean, in a sense, it's
Yeah,
not where it's not where there's a service available and you use it and you pay for it, it's a flat fee.
Correct, yeah.
Whatever term you want to use.
We buy basically the risk smoothing, but it's not billed, it's not treated.
Sure.
As a transaction review.
Okay.
So, yeah, I just wanted to, again, make the committee aware of the progress with that. That's already approved and in the budget, so we'll keep going down that road. And then that would bring us to the personnel report, is there something? Okay. So on the personnel report, there's a couple things I wanted to highlight, before we get into the billing or not. Supervisor Baker brought it to my attention that court security officer says advertising. But it came up at Public Safety Committee that position's been spoken for, the becoming a full-time position. So both are true. There is somebody placed and selected for that position. They're not yet in it because of other staffing needs at the department. And we're advertising to continue to develop a pool of part-time, on-call type workers to cover the court security so that we can have some flexibility when there are times of turnover or things, to be able to both keep the courthouse safe and keep patrol staffed and highways safe and investigations. So I don't know if Sheriff, do you have anything to add to that at all?
No, you hit it on the head. It's just an augmentation of our current staff. I mean, it makes more sense to have a part-time pool versus having to slide someone, let's say, on overtime. So it's just a better use of resources. And again, it ebbs and flows. If we did have maybe a high profile court case, we could draw them in and then the case is over, they fade away. So it's a very good sort of nimble way of bringing staff in. And we've had some interest from recent retirees. So that makes it, a little bit more lucrative that we're not completely drawing from an empty pool. We went out and did a little survey and some of our most recent retirees said, yeah, I wouldn't mind hopping in on that every now and then. So I think it's a win-win.
Well, are we allowed to know who got that position?
So the full-time went to John DuBois. So that's the full-time court security. But as we've stated in the past, we don't have the staffing yet to be able to get him in there. So we're backfilling that with investigations and different positions. Once we're solid again, John will be the court security officer.
But Mark is gone, all right?
Mark retired right after the first year. And Mark is one of them that showed interest then in coming back on a part-time basis.
What kind of security is there in this building?
What kind of security in this building? You're pretty much, if something happens, it's going to be the responding city officer and then any of us that are in the area, either on patrol or those of us over at the courthouse and administration. So there is no active security personnel at this site.
All right. Go ahead, Jeff.
There are alarm systems on at various offices.
Yes, that was something that was just put in this last year. So that was a huge improvement. I mean, this building's much more locked down than it was probably as of 4 years ago. You could come in that back door, by the lounge, you can come in some of these auxiliary doors. Those are all locked down now. You have to have the fob. They put in some mirrors so that the different staff that are at the offices can literally see who's coming up and down the hallways. So there's been increased security mechanically, but as far as personnel, we're relying on the city and those of us that are out and about.
Yeah. So thanks for those questions. Another thing I wanted to highlight under the recruitment section of the personnel report is there's 2 positions in human services listed as under review. That's because the director, Melissa Anway, and I have been really looking at what we can do to set those positions up for success long term and make sure that people are able to be successful as employees and that our community is getting the services that they need. So not at liberty yet to bring forward any final resolution to that, but I just wanted to highlight we're working on that and we'll be bringing, if there's a change from current course, we'll be bringing that back to the committee for your review later. So it's not indefinitely paused. It's not just on the back burner. Oh, one more thing under personnel report too, then for last month, the committee voted to refill positions at the highway department. If you remember right, there was highway worker 2 open because of a resignation, person moved to a different employer. Highway worker 3 open due to the unfortunate untimely passing of Jamie. So I understood the committee's motion to mean bringing us back to full staff. We didn't specifically say one highway worker 2 and one highway worker 3. So what we have done so far, and it can be reversed if the committee directing to do that. But we have internally selected one of the existing staff to move into the highway worker 3. And then we've moved through the selection process to be able to hire 2 highway worker 2s and bring us back to full staff. So if that doesn't strike anyone on the committee as off base or me going rogue, that's what we would do. But I did want to make sure that it's super important to me that we're transparent and on the same page. So I just wanted to bring that back to you.
Can you say that again? I see that it had a highway worker 2 advertising last time.
Yep.
And then there was a death that occurred between you writing this, right?
Yes,
So that's 2 orders.
Correct.
That's what we approved last time. Did you just describe 3 or 2?
I described 2.
Okay,
I just, basically, we didn't specifically say refilling the highway worker 3. And if refilling the highway worker 3 comes from inside, then we have openings for 2 highway worker 2.
Okay.
So, yeah, it's based, what we are prepared to do, unless the committee directs you to do otherwise, is simply bring us back to full staffing. And with the internal promotion not specifically named. No questions about that. Again, I just wanted to be really transparent with that. And finally, before we move into approving vacancies, I just wanted to advise the committee of a couple of things we're working on internally. These don't require any action, but just keeping you aware. For 2025, we have rebooted and rebuilt the performance evaluation process. I developed a updated form for that and talked with department heads about, how the value of making sure that every employee has the evaluation each year. As we get going and when I get a second to put it together, I will make available to some training on supervisors on how to make that evaluation valuable and make sure that everybody has kind of the same basis of knowledge to be able to be effective that way. If you think about it, performance is really something we ought to be talking about all the time. And the once a year shouldn't surprise anybody, but it's also, I believe, very important that we have a written record of people's progress and who's really doing an awesome job and who really, needs to pick it up in this area or that area. So we are moving ahead with that. And for anybody who regularly is looking at the county website to see about our application and recruitment process, with our recruitment needs, I've really kind of taken a step back and tried to approach the process of, what would a candidate see? What did I see a year ago, or a year and a half ago or whatever, when I was applying, and how can we have that process as smooth and accessible to as many candidates as possible so that if we have people looking at our ad and say, oh, that might be a good place to work, how can we make that from that point to the time that they come in for the interview as smooth as possible? And the biggest thing that I noticed is the application that's outward facing on the website right now for the main website is not a form fillable PDF. It's the PDF form is the name of the format. That's just the electronic form kind of basis that's typically closed for editing, but has fields that you can enter into. The simplest way to fill out the existing application on our website is to print it and fill it out on paper. And a lot of people are using phones and don't have printers at home and maybe not even a PC. So I really wanted to remove that as a potential barrier. And I'm about 95% of the way done with rebuilding our application form in a way that it can be filled and submitted all without using the phone. If that's the most convenient way for you, certainly can do it by a PC, but giving them another option. And definitely not having to print and fill it out on paper. We're trying to, again, have the biggest front door possible so that we have the most candidates to choose from when we're hiring the quality people we need to do the work. And then if the committee is ready to consider requests for vacancies, the only thing that's new here is the Jessica DePauw's public health educator position. She resigned at the end of last year, and just because of the timing of when that all went final and the meeting agenda going out, it wasn't on the January agenda. So there's any questions about that, I can do my best, otherwise we would request that that position be refilled.
Motion? Supervisor Baker,
Second.
second by Supervisor Romden. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion carries. I have one question, as long as we have corporation counsel here. How are we, and it's executive committee, how are we coming on, policy manual reviews and updates?
We have some information back from the WCA and from the insurer. We still need to discuss what information they provided. So they've given quite a bit of feedback. A lot of it was pretty good, but given an opportunity to go through all that with them and kind of determine how those changes would most appropriately fit our policy and still, I guess, carry forward the position of the board up to that point. So,
The subcommittee will be meeting soon.
yeah, we're probably, we haven't anything on the calendar yet, but I would assume in the next week or two, we would be able to have that discussion and start talking about some details and then bring that meeting back together.
All right, that brings us to the next meeting date, which would be March 3rd. That works for everyone. Usual 6 o'clock. All right. Motion to adjourn. Supervisor Poppy, second by Rosansky. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, we are adjourned.